posting.
Ms. Frenchco,
What?
please stand up, please.
Why?
Because I'm requesting you to stand up, please. We're not going to deal with this. You're being very disruptive. You're disrupting the meeting.
I'm
Stand
not
up. Stand up, ma'am, please. Stand up.
disrupting a meeting.
That's correct. You're being disruptive. Stand up.
You can be removed for
You
being
stand up
disruptive.
now.
And this guy thinks he's the
Put
good guy.
your phone down, ma'am.
Why?
Put your phone down, ma'am.
This is for my safety. I'd rather go out where there's videos. Do you have a video on?
I do not.
No. Put your phone down.
Down. You're now under arrest for disrupting a public meeting. Phone down. We're going to place you in handcuffs. You are now under arrest for
I have.
disruption of a
Whoa.
public meeting.
I am. Am I gonna have a medical? Look, I have.
Do you want us to call a squad for you? Are you having a medical issue? Stand up.
If they can do this to me at an open meeting in broad daylight and violate my rights like that, it scares me to think of what they would do to someone else behind closed doors or in a dark
So a
alley.
few things here, Solutionaries. One, the hood has already been telling people that this is what certain sections of law enforcement have been doing to Americans for some time now. Whether people listen to it, whether it was so-called poor white trash or crazy Irish or crazy Italian or poor black people, most poor neighborhoods, especially in big leftist ran cities, have been saying that there's been a problem with law enforcement citizen engagements for some time now, but the general public didn't listen. So she's spot on when saying like her brain couldn't even comprehend, like, damn, if they would do this to me in an actual meeting that she's a part of in public, what they would do for somebody else. Now, I want to real briefly explain what's going on here to give you guys some context. This is in Ohio, okay? An Ohio elected official's constitutional rights were violated when her colleagues on the county board of commissioners had her arrested, her folks, had her arrested for criticizing the sheriff during a public meeting. A federal judge ruled Tuesday. Nikki Frenchco, the lone Republican on the 3-member Trumbull County Board of Commissioners, was placed in handcuffs by sheriff's deputies at the commissioners' meeting on July 7, 2022. She was charged under an Ohio law that makes it a misdemeanor to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting. The law prohibits obstructive conduct or speech that outrages the sensibilities of the group. Let's dial it back. There's a lot to unpack there, guys. This isn't a third world country or something of that sort. This is Ohio. She's one of 3 members of a county board commission meeting group. 2 of her homies, her peers, had her arrested because she criticized the sheriff. The deputy who works for the sheriff comes out, says, I'm gonna arrest you, so forth and so on. When we talk about having a slight disrespect for law enforcement and them overstepping the job, this is what we mean. Law enforcement officers take an oath to the Constitution. And usually sheriffs and sheriff's deputies in small towns are a lot more good with that, as opposed to, New York City, Philadelphia, Chicago, where it's just a faceless bureaucracy, right? In smaller towns, some of the guys know who you are, they know your community, they da-da-da-da-da-da. In this case, in Ohio, working at the behest of 2 of those of her peers, decided to say, we're gonna arrest you. And she gets arrested. So it's very easy to see in that scenario she was not being rude. Those charges were also dropped, by the way. And since those charges were dropped, it indicates that they were just weaponizing law enforcement to do their bidding. And that's the most dangerous thing, because when you do it to the people that you don't like, then when the other people that you don't like get in position, if they're not very, very principled, they'll wind up doing the same thing to you. And then we get more and more rights eroding, and then law enforcement get put in the crosshairs. But in reality, they're placing themselves in the crosshairs because they have the ability to say, no, I'm not executing that order. But most of them do not. We saw this with COVID. We saw law enforcement officers all around the country locking up pastors, locking up preachers, locking up church parishioners, locking up students that didn't want to wear a mask in the art museum, 7-year-olds, things of this nature. This is why there's so much pushback from people saying, no, the police are not actually here helping our community. And if this is happening in these type of suburban or rural enclaves, you 1000% understand it could be happening in big cities. Also, guys, this happens because the general public is not informed and well steeped in civics. This is why we have our online civics class. Now, what do I mean by that? If you have a group of people that are steeped in civics and that process, they know the boundaries, they know the systems of checks and balances, they know that they're opening themselves up to lawsuits when they do frivolous things like that, and they're more apt to not do it, especially if they're reared in that before they go into their professions, before they become a city council person, before they become a law enforcement officer. This is the reason why education generally 9 times out of 10 trumps legislation. This is why we keep pushing to you guys. Go take the basic civics course. These things can be applied on a local level, your county, your township, your city, state, as well as federal level. But we all should aspire to start locally. Very, very important. So we have more control over the situation because it comes from a system of checks and balances. Guys, the link is in the bio. If you're on Instagram watching this, comment the word civics and that link will come directly to your DM. We can only push back against these things when we're honest about the fact that it's out of control. People are overdoing what they think the job is. They're not actually doing the job. And we have to be very, very vocal about that. We can no longer be the silent majority. We have to be the vocal majority if we want these things to change. Hit the link. See you guys in class. Let's make sure that we're making our civic understanding and engagement an everyday part of our journey. Be safe, be solutionary.